Hello and welcome. Been a while. I haven't done this in like over a month, I think, maybe even 2 months. Things have been busy, but I don't know, maybe I just want to make a little video. I don't really know about what. I just turned on the camera and I guess I'm just gonna start talking. So I don't know, maybe pet peeves, especially about spirituality, at least how people talk and express it. And just a small thing, at least for me. I feel like the way you word things is important because while I like this topic, I feel like one thing that tends to worry me is the vocabulary. It would not be the wisest things to use this dialogue with this vocabulary around people who have like certain mental illnesses. At least I would feel bad if I use these words around someone that doesn't quite understand the jargon. Because in this particular niche, people who know what these words are won't get confused. But if you talk to this about like a random person, it definitely closely relates to things that sound kind of crazy. And I feel like it would be irresponsible to at least try to talk about these things about people that aren't interested in it. I mean, I've definitely tried hinting at these things, but never directly talking about it with like other people that I'm close to, but never using the direct language like no self or even awakening and stuff. That would be kind of weird. I wouldn't even want to use these terminology. But here it's fine because the people that I'm talking to are here specifically for that. But if they're not, it'd be kind of weird. And at worst, it could be disorientating or dysfunctional to tell someone who's really depressed or feels like they have no agency in life that there's no self. Like, I think that would kind of ruin their life. And I am around a lot of people where I feel like picking my words wisely is important, especially around people who maybe mentally are a bit more fragile. And if you've watched me long enough, I'm sure you've noticed I like clarifying the words I use. And if you want to know why, it's specifically because if someone stumbles on one of these videos and they don't understand the terminology, I want to make sure it's not too weird and they know that I'm trying to say something very specific and out of context. It could just sound like I'm trying to tell you to numb out and dissociate and ignore your life, which is not the point of this thing. I'm definitely leaning drastically towards authenticity and being vulnerable and honest. It's just sometimes the language is really hard to portray what this kind of, you can use the phrase the peace that passes all understanding, where it's like no matter what's happening, it's okay, but it sounds really magical, but it's really grounded and normal. It's completely ordinary, which is kind of the duality of all this. And yeah, speaking of issues, my camera light's kind of broken, so sometimes I have to adjust it on the fly, or else I'll go blind. It's kind of dark and late right now. But yeah, I already forgot what I was saying. Yeah, the terminology, like I don't know, telling someone that feels like they're too depressed to do anything, that there's no self would be, I feel like that would be an irresponsible thing to do. But when I say things like no self, I really want to clarify things. Like when I say there's no self, I think the most genuine way to express this would be there's no identity. There's no specific way someone is or should be perceived. It's just people kind of are just the way they are. You are just the way you are. You can describe yourself, but you're not that description. Like I can say I have black hair, but that's just me talking. You're hearing words. It doesn't actually mean anything, but it's pointing to something to get your attention that, hey, I have black hair. But at the end of the day, it's just noise. It doesn't literally mean anything. We had to give it meaning. I think the fixation on these words is another pet peeve of mine, at least for me. I try to very minimally use the terms like awakening or enlightenment and all these things because I don't think they're actually all that important. I think they're pointing to something important, but the words themselves aren't that big a deal. Unless you're talking to someone specifically in this niche and they need guidance. That would be helpful because structure helps people get focused. But also, I feel like there's also a subset of people who would actually do better without the terminology. I think that's the biggest reason I started this channel in the first place, is trying to dumbify spirituality without the spiritual vocabulary. Like instead of like I do have conversations with people that are very deep and vulnerable, and I don't go, "Hey, there's no self." It's more of a, you know, it's, I'm upset that people have this expectation of you, and I can clearly see you're upset, and it's very one to one. There isn't like a specific way I talk. It's just I think if this person heard me say this in this specific way, like I have to kind of use an actual living example because it's hard to make one up on the fly. Like I know someone who wanted to be a mother, but she can't. So I had to have this conversation with her where it's like, I can see this is important. And it's a big part of your identity, especially when she mentioned like she was raised being told she has to be a mother. So I had to get into a conversation of, you know, sometimes we're conditioned to be certain things, but we don't have to be. A lot easier when I'm actually talking to someone because it's a lot more dynamic. Trying to remember this is a little hard because this was a while ago, like a few months ago. But yeah, I was just talking about this in a really normal way without any of the spiritual words, just going, you don't have to be anything in particular, and we can grieve this. And she did. It's not something big or magical. I feel like that's one of the dangers of using really loaded sounding words like awakening and enlightenment is it sounds very mystical and magical when I feel like it does a bigger service if it sounds more grounded. I mean, I don't know of a better term, but I use it because I don't know what else to say. And in here, I think it's fine because it's a common term. When I talk to other people about this without using the terminology, I just kind of go, it's kind of nice that I can kind of turn off my brain. Some variation of, it's kind of nice not thinking. When I have regular conversations with people, I'll say something just like that. Or like, I don't really overthink. Instead of going, oh, I had an awakening. I don't think a lot. Simple as that. And people are like, I don't know, maybe they say they're jealous or something, but it's just a normal, I don't think a lot. But when people ask for my opinion on something, sometimes I'll just go, you're kind of barking up the wrong tree. I don't actually have much of an opinion on this, which doesn't mean I don't. There are certain things I definitely have opinions about. And opinions are just opinions. It's okay to have an opinion. I definitely have preferences or certain opinions. But just because they're important to me doesn't mean everyone else should have them. It's a lot more fluid. So I'm definitely around people where I have different beliefs or disagreements. And I feel like unless you have a very specific spiritual question, the spiritual vocabulary is a hindrance. I feel like it ungrounds people from being just a normal, regular person that probably has to put food on the table and has relationships with other people. So, at least for me, I feel like the most important thing, at least the main thing I even started this channel was I really want to humanify the terminology. I just want things to be simple and basic where if I just interact with people normally, this is how I would be. And I feel like there's always ways I can change the way I talk to make this more clear. And for me, at least, it's just important to also Okay. I think one big thing, at least for me, is always trying to appear like not above anyone when I talk. Even if I can talk about these things, I always try to. If you've been here long enough, I think you kind of notice. I like to reiterate, I really am just a normal, regular person. You would not notice anything weird about. Well, I'm pretty weird, so you would you would definitely notice a weird person if you met me in person. But I'm just like everyone else, not any special, specific individual, just some random guy who apparently can talk about this stuff and wants to kind of simplify it so it sounds less magical and mystical and more practical and pragmatic and grounded. This isn't about like mind blowing experiences. It's just coming back and recognizing that everything's kind of innocent, and the only thing that says otherwise is a judgment or a thought that goes, hey, this should be better or worse, or there's a thought that just goes, maybe I'm not enough, or maybe I am enough. Both of them, just thoughts. Because when you just go back to being grounded on what's happening, it doesn't really matter. And thoughts are a part of what matters. I feel like I reiterate this, so I'm gonna stop that example there. But at least other pet peeves is it's not a big one, but at least for me, sometimes I feel like it's useful, maybe be a bit personable. I try to avoid it sometimes. I feel like the teaching is more important, but sometimes I reflect and I feel like when I listen to teachers, the ones that at least sometimes the things that stick with me is when they talk about their normal life. And I'm like, hey, they're just like me. Like hearing a spiritual teacher say, I watch TV when I'm bored. Like, oh, me too. Or I like chocolate and I might eat too much chocolate. Like, huh, that's a weird thing for a spiritual teacher to say, but honestly, me too. Very grounding. It makes it feel less like this idealized, almost godlike person. Just they're just a regular person. I think I every now and again just give little bits and pieces of just my normal everyday life. I'm pretty open, so I don't mind talking about it, but I definitely wonder, would it be inappropriate to share my personal life too much? Would it get in the way of people trying to interpret what I'm trying to say? Because, oh, well, he's teaching this, but his life is like this, and they're kind of conflicting certain ways. Or they could be. We're talking about like peace, and if you have the idea that peace is supposed to feel good, then I kind of want to redirect your attention. When they're talking about peace, maybe even peace isn't the right word, but something that just can't turn away. Maybe we don't want to use the word peace, but something that no matter the situation, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, what is it that can't be avoided? Like, what is it that's always grounded? When you feel good, there's the recognition. What is that? That's recognizing that you're feeling good. Or if you feel bad, you're recognizing that you don't feel so great. What is that itself? That's recognizing that you're not feeling so great. That's one step. And another step would be, what even is the separation between that, which is recognizing the feeling, and the feeling? Where's the boundary? The recognition where does the recognition and even the experiences, like where's the boundary between that? Is there even a boundary? Honestly, this video isn't here to teach. This is more just me kind of rambling, I guess. Yeah. If someone asked me a specific question, this would probably be a more direct video, but this is just me kind of going anywhere I want, I guess. Because I do wonder sometimes, would people be okay if I shared a bit more of my personal life? Because I'm not really a secretive person. I'm quite the open book. But yeah, sometimes I have doubts too. I don't really mind that I have doubts. Like, that's just a part of being human. Like, if someone asked me to perform surgery, oh, you bet I'm gonna be extremely doubtful. Like, you should ask someone else to do that. I'm not qualified to do that. I mean, I experience doubt when I'm being tailgated on the highway. Like, something bad gonna happen? I don't know. But the doubt makes me tense up and pay more attention. So I'm not afraid of experiencing doubt or fear. They're fine. Because this isn't about avoiding things, it's about being intimate with everything, all the experiences. It's even being peaceful enough to cry or just be angry when it's important to you. Because I've definitely been crying a lot lately. Oh, maybe if you want to know a bit of my personal life, I started dating again. It didn't go so well. I was spending quite a bit of time with someone, but I did initiate that, I don't think this is working out. Even though I'm kind of the one that initiated that maybe she and I shouldn't continue, I definitely had a good cry for myself. So, yeah, but I don't like have any judgments or fear of crying, so it was definitely a very pleasant cry, even though it hurt. But I'm not particularly afraid of pain. So it's not like I'm trying to ask people to be superhuman. And I hope me sharing that at least makes people go, no, there's nothing wrong with pain. There's nothing wrong with being vulnerable or hurt. That's just part of being a regular ass person. Also, I just said my first swear word, I think, on this channel. Yeah, I try to swear more sometimes. I've been told people have a hard time swearing around me. But when I meet new people, I try to swear like within the second or third time we meet, so they get comfortable swearing around me. So I don't know. Maybe eventually I'll start swearing more just because of this. And yeah, I think that's about it for this video. Oh, maybe it was a waste of time. Maybe you had a little fun. Maybe a little laugh. But yeah, if anything, I hope you just take the heart that you're into spirituality. I hope you're in it because there's just a sense you just want to be more honest, not because you want to avoid something. Or if you are avoiding something, I hope it leads you back to something genuine. I feel like a good teacher or a good teaching isn't one that's necessarily true. I think it's one that makes you feel like you're back at home. There are probably teachers or teachings that are really good, but they don't resonate with me. It doesn't mean it's a bad teaching. It means not for me. I don't think there's a best teaching. It's just what's something that's good for you. And if you're here, I'd like to believe, at least a little bit, the things that come out of my mouth are good for you. And if not, honestly, I would suggest you listen to someone that does give you that feeling of home and that things are okay. It doesn't have to be me. It can be anyone. It doesn't even have to be spiritual. It can even be someone just talking and making tea or just a video of an animal. Anything that just makes you feel a lot more comfortable in being yourself. Because I feel like that's the whole point. Just seeing that there's nothing inherently wrong with you. And if I say any more, I think I'm going to start rambling. So it's getting kind of long. It's almost 20 minutes. I think I should end the video here. Yep, this time I have my eyes closed because the light's kind of blinding. So thanks for watching. I should probably end this before I go blind later.